Hey Bookworms of Concord. So making this video a little later than I wanted it to, but I was going through some things this past week. But it's time for the books I read in April this year. And it's only 2 books that I read last month, and that's mostly because of this one. Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 4 of his Stormlight archive. And I only read 2 books, not necessarily because of its massive length, because the other 3, each individually I read within like 10 to 13 days each. Because I don't know, it's just the pacing of this book for whatever reason just had me slow down a lot, especially parts 2 through 3, which is about like 45.5% of the book. It was just a giant slog for me for some reason. I don't know. But I did really enjoy Kaladin's character development through this. It's masterful as always, and but still, it's like Sanderson just created Kaladin just to suffer. It's like, oh, Kaladin is having a moment of peace, make him suffer. But it does he does come full circle. Not completely full circle, of course, with book 5 still left for me to read, but it's still satisfying. The same thing with Shallan. At first I was I didn't like what he was doing with her until I saw what he was actually doing with her, where it just made sense. Other than that, I kind of enjoy the deeper dive into the scientific aspect of Roshar from Navani's perspective with the Fabrials. That wasn't... I knew that was going to be part of Rhythm of War because of what other reviewers have said, but it wasn't as exciting as I was expecting it to be. Not sure why that is, because I do enjoy reading sci-fi. I don't know. It just didn't click with me for whatever reason. So it took me almost a whole month to read this, maybe because of the pacing, I don't know. Maybe I was in some sort of a writing slump for whatever reason, probably because of reading the 3 other massive books of his before this. But whatever it was, the next book got me over it. And that next book was My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is a thriller. It's about a married couple, seems like a normal suburban couple, normal suburban neighbors, but they share a terrifying secret. They enjoy getting away with murder, basically to spice up their marriage. That's all I knew about it going into this. The back tells you a little bit more, nothing that really gives anything away, but that was the only premise I knew, and that immediately hooked me in. But it's also a story that tells the consequences of keeping secrets in your marriage. It's full of twists, most of which are surprising, and the suspense is captivating, and the characters are so well written that you forget the husband and wife are actually the villains. The main character is really the husband. He's the main one of the 2. You might write him as an anti-hero, or not write him, but call him an anti-hero. But I don't, because he's involved with the murders with his wife, and murder is evil, right? The 5th commandment. Even if he's somewhat of a victim of his wife, not to give anything away, that's all I'll say about it. Even if he is a victim in some sense of his wife, he's still actively involved. He still chooses to be involved, and he enjoys it. He very clearly enjoys it. So he's a villain. He's not an anti-hero, especially his wife. His wife is also a villain, not an anti-hero. But other than that, the ending, you'll either be satisfied or dissatisfied. But I think the ending will have you just lean your head back in your reading chair in bewilderment. And it, like, I can't believe it ended that way, but in a good way. You might hate it, you might like the ending. It just depends on your tastes. But I liked it. I tend to I don't mind endings that aren't like super definitive. I don't mind that at all. It kind of breaks the traditional mold of conclusions. So yeah, those are the only two books I read in April. I'm currently reading Wind and Truth, the last book of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. You know, I've heard certain critiques about the book. I'm only 100 pages in right now, so I don't really have any sort of critiques of what those are at the moment. But I'm also reading at the same time The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I don't know if that's how you say her first name. Normally, I don't read two books or more than one book at the same time. I prefer to read one at a time, so I don't accidentally like mix universes or get confused. But I'm reading two at the same time because someone told me that I should read The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson, which is this one, before I read Wind and Truth, because this is also this was published before Wind and Truth, and a year before Wind and Truth, and it takes place in a Cosmere universe like all or most of his other books, and apparently it has something, it connects to Wind and Truth in some way, and I've heard mixed comments or received mixed comments that it spoils Wind and Truth, and others that said no, it doesn't. But I think I'm more willing to believe those who say it doesn't spoil it, because again, this was published before Wind and Truth, so it doesn't make sense why Sanderson would publish a book that spoils one that wasn't even published yet. So after I read The Reformatory, I'm going to read The Sunlit Man before I continue reading Wind and Truth. And hopefully I do all that this month. Maybe not, because Wind and Truth is massive. It's over 1,300 pages. And normally I would have finished The Reformatory by now, but I'm also reading that slower than I normally would. It doesn't really have anything to do with the book, and I don't think I'm in a reading slump again either. I think it just has more to do with I've been doing other things in life. I've been working on several book projects. In fact, I'm still waiting to hear from CPH, Concordia Publishing House, about the possibility of publishing a poetry book on the Small Catechism. And just other things in life that are going on. So hopefully I read all three this month, and I'll post a video on those next month. But either way, there will be a video next month about what I read this month in May. So yeah, those are what I've read. Let me know if you've enjoyed those two books I've read, Rhythm of War and My Lovely Wife, your thoughts on them, and let me know what you're reading. So yeah, okay, bye.